Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me. I sure appreciate it. What do you guys think about this lip color? It's one of the new Slick Clicks. I picked up a new shade. Not sure how I feel about it, but we're going to stick with it for today. I have 10 palettes sitting in front of me. These are the latest 10 palettes to my collection that are ready for review. There are some newer palettes in my collection that didn't make it into this review because I haven't touched every shade. That's kind of my requirement for this review, is that I have touched every shade at least once and used the palette several times. I want to make sure I know the palette and know it well before I rank it. These are not ranked within my collection, just ranked within themselves. And again, it's just my latest 10 palettes. So please keep in mind that it is nothing personal to how I rank it. My ranking is strictly based on my personal color preference, my usage preference, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Let's go. Okay guys, like I said, I have 10 palettes. Coming in at number 10 is the Colourpop All Night collection. This is one of their holiday palettes. There's two reasons this one came in at the bottom. Number one is these two shades right here, these two shimmers, they come out very, very similar. Now, looking at this, to me, this looks white, this looks silver. When you swatch them, they look identical, kind of like a white or silver. And they look the same on the eyes. So gripe number one is that because both those shades tend to look so similar in the swatches and on the eyes, it almost eliminates a shade, so this ends up being a 4-pan. Gripe number two isn't really a gripe, but I don't do smoky eyes. I do a smoky eye maybe once a year. So that's the reason it's at the bottom. The formula is fine other than just those two shades, but that is why it's coming in at number 10. Number 9 is Lawless, the Winter Beach one. This one is fine. I have two gripes about this one. Gripe number one is the shimmers don't pick up at all on my brushes. Even when I spray it with setting spray, I can't get them to pick up. I can't get them to translate, so I have to use my finger. I have no choice. And because of that, I do kind of feel like they're getting, not necessarily hard panned, but just, they're difficult to work with. In my opinion, they're difficult to work with. So gripe number 2 is the color story. I just don't gravitate towards teal colors like this. This darker blue is fine. Now, to be clear, these are perfectly pigmented. They translate onto the eyes. They are the color that they are in the pan. That did impress me. I just don't gravitate towards these colors right in here. This top row, absolutely my jam. I'm a gold, warm, neutral kind of girl. So that's the only thing with this palette, is I just don't wear these colors very often. And the shades were, or the shimmers were slightly disappointing, but it did introduce me into Lawless eyeshadows. So far, I'm interested in picking up more as the color stories intrigue me, but that is why this is coming in at number 9. Okay, number 8 is Colourpop. This is the only palette I actually bought in 2024. I bought it early in 2024, but I have used every shade. I've used the palette a couple times. I feel confident adding it into this judgment center right here. It is the Peach Out palette by Colourpop. I do like peaches. I think they look great on blue eyes. They make blue eyes pop. I've used every shade in here. The only reason that it's this low is just because it's a very light color story. I see this as like a springtime palette, summertime palette, but it's not one I would wear all year. So that's really the only reason. The formula is perfectly fine. The shades are perfectly fine. It's just not one I'm going to be able to wear all year round for my own personal tastes. So that is why it is where it is in this lineup. Number 7 is second of the third of the holiday palettes from Colourpop. This is the Warm Wishes palette. This one I have zero complaints about. It's a pretty neutral color story. I do like gold, so it's perfectly fine. You know, this shade right here, which I believe is called Sparkle Season. This shade, I've heard some people mention that this is a glitter hybrid. I would agree with that, because I initially thought this was a pressed glitter because it picks up like a pressed glitter. It swatches like a pressed glitter, but there's just something a little bit different about it compared to the pressed glitters in other Colourpop palettes that I have. And I heard someone, and I apologize, I don't know who it was, what creator it was, but they had mentioned that this is possibly like a hybrid, like a shimmer glitter hybrid. And I'm totally with them on that. It gave me zero fallout. For me, that was highly impressive. A lot of times fallout doesn't happen immediately when I put it on, but you know, at the end of the day, I go in to take my makeup off and I see glitter particles on my face from the glittery eyeshadow. This did not give me any glittery fallout, which was impressive. So I'm not sure what that is exactly, but it's a fine palette. It's perfectly fine. It's just, it's a really simple neutral color story, and just what's above it is just a little more of something I love, just a little bit more. Number 6 is the last of the Colourpop holiday collection. This is the Jingle On palette. I actually have this in my February rotation right now. It's just those kind of like berry tones, so it's just perfect for this season. The reason this one isn't higher as well is just simply because of the color story. I don't see myself reaching back into this again until the next winter season. But yeah, so this color story is perfectly fine. I really enjoy it, and this middle shade is really unique in my collection, which at 67 palettes, that's impressive to find a unique shade, and this one is unique. I have a lot of shades similar, but nothing exactly like it, so that's really fun, and so I do enjoy that a lot. But yeah, it's pretty simple, and it's not something I can wear year round in my own personal taste, so that's why it is where it is. Number 5 is Alter Ego Canyon palette. So coming back around to the gold warm neutral lover in my heart, there it is. Well, there it is. So the reason this one isn't higher is simply just because for me it lacks some, it does lack some depth, but it also, it's just the whole palette is very mid-tone. So the gradient, that's what I'm looking for. The gradient isn't where I would love it to be. I love the shades. I love the color choices, but really my only deepening shade is this one and this one. And this one just doesn't get as deep as I would like for an outer corner color. And then a lot of these shades in here translate similar on the eye. So whether I use this one or this one or this one, it doesn't matter. It looks the same. So I feel like there's a lot of repetitiveness and it's very mid-tone. So while I love this color scheme, I feel like there could be a better gradient. Now, I do know this is a color story dupe, not a formula dupe or anything of that nature, but I know it's a color story dupe for Natasha Denona Bronze. But I'm really, really glad that I have this one because I do enjoy Alter Ego's formula, but I just didn't want to spend $69 on a palette that I knew didn't quite have the gradient I wanted, but I did want these colors. The Canyon palette is also extremely shimmer heavy. There is only 4 mattes in here, and the 4 mattes are all pretty mid-tone in my opinion. Or excuse me, 5 mattes. Did I say 4? I meant 5. But all 5 are right here, and they're all pretty similar. They're pretty mid-tone. This is kind of like a satin shade, so it's not a true matte. It blends out to be a true matte, but still it's like, it's not supposed to be a true matte. But just the shimmer to matte ratio is not ideal for me. I prefer either 50-50 or matte heavy. So that's kind of why this one isn't a little bit higher. It's just that ratio lacking what I need it to be. Which leads me into the Melt Rust palette. This one is a similar color story, but it has the depth and range that I'm looking for. So here it is. As you can see, it's a similar color story, but this only has 3 shimmers and the rest of it is matte. And I love Melt Matte formula. It blends like butter. It is fantastic. So the shimmers in this one are here, here, and here. And I love the shimmer choices for the corresponding mattes. Something else that I really, really love is the fact that both of these shades are in here. This peachy shade and this yellow shade. And it's like a yellow gold shade, not like a yellow shade. Hopefully you know what I mean by that. But very rarely do you see 2 colors like this in a palette together. And these 2 colors are some of my favorite color combinations. This like marigold yellow and this peach. I love those 2 colors together. So when I saw this palette, saw those 2 shades, and the fact that it's matte heavy, I was like, done, sold, give it to me. I bought it when it was on super sale. I think it was like Black Friday sale, and I can't get enough. I can't get enough. Number 3 kind of surprised me. I knew I would like it, but I actually ended up loving it. And it is the Colourpop 1111 palette. So yeah, it gives me all the range I'm looking for. Again, warm neutral lover. I prefer golds. So I've got 2 different kinds of golds here. You've got light shades, you've got mid-tone shades, you've got deepening shades. This one just kind of hits everything for me. I see this also being a really great travel palette for me. And this shade, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. There's something about the shade. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you, but I love it. But I love that I can get a pinkier look. I love that I can get like a purpley look. I love that I can get 2 different types of gold tone looks. I can get a more neutral brown. I can get a more goldy brown. this impressed me. This impressed me. I'm very happy with it. And this is kind of that same texture I was telling you about in the Warm Wishes palette. It actually kind of looks pretty similar too as far as shade. But I think it's that glitter hybrid because, again, these shades did not give me any fallout. It did not give me fallout on application, and it did not give me fallout throughout the day. Went to take my makeup off, fully expect to see glitter particles on my face. I saw none. I was like, heck freaking yes. Bomb.com. Love this one. This is number 3. Number 2 is another alter ego, and this is the Goddess palette. Another shocker to me. I knew I was going to like it. I fell in love. Here is the color story. Here's what I absolutely love about this. Warm neutrals, golds, and greens. Ugh. So outside of warm neutrals, golds, green is my other favorite color. And this kind of gives me the best of all my worlds. As you can see, you've got your warm browns. And then this is actually a shifty shade here. As you can see, it shifts green to gold. This one's got a tiny bit of a green shift, but really not all that much. But I don't know what else to say about this. The formula is fantastic. It's alter ego. I've really come to love this brand. I love their formula. I do know that this is a Color Story dupe to the Natasha Denona Gold palette, which I never got my hands on because of the price. So I'm extremely happy to own a version of it that has a fantastic formula. I do have a go-to look with this palette that brings me so much joy. But just this palette in general is fantastic. I love the color choices in it, and especially this shade down here. It is my favorite, very clearly. But yeah, so this comes in at number 2. Number 1, y'all are sick of this one. I'm certain of it. And I would like to also agree that I'm sick and tired of it, but I can't. It would be illegal for me to be sick of this one. It is the Tarte Honeysuckle palette. I've had this on the channel quite a few times in quite a few different rankings, but it did need to be included in this one too because I can't get enough. Here is the color story if you haven't seen it yet. I love the versatility I get with this, but ultimately what sets this one apart from all the rest that brings me the most joy, other than the versatility, because when I talk about versatility, I can get a nice light neutral look. I can get a deeper neutral look. I've got gold here. I've got a little bit of my berry tones in here, so I can get that berry tone look I've been craving lately. But the number one thing that sets this apart from everything else is the shimmers. And I know that sounds insane because these shimmers appear to be very lackluster. And to be perfectly honest with you, they're definitely not the sparkliest. Like, the shimmers in the Goddess palette are going to do it more for me than the shimmers in here. The difference between the shimmers in this one and this one, though, that sets them apart as 1 and 2 is the fact that these shimmers pick up amazingly on a brush. And they pack easily and quickly. To me, that is huge. I'm a germaphobe, a slight germaphobe, so I feel like anytime I need to use my finger in a palette, I have to go wash my hands. 1, because I don't want like the oils from like my foundation or my skin or my body or whatever to get in and hard pan it. 2, I am a germaphobe and I don't want to put something that's on my hand into my palette onto my eye. Also, I have very sensitive skin, very sensitive eyes. So I'm always washing my hands. So if I can pick up a shimmer with no effort on a brush, it's a winner. And this takes no effort. I don't have to spray it. I don't have to work hard at it. It picks up easily on a brush, packs down easily on my eyes. It builds quickly and effectively. So that's what sets this one apart. I do wish they were a little more impactful, but like I said, I can absolutely pack it on. It won't be quite as like sparkly and shimmery as one of those will give me, but the range that I get from this, the versatility, and the fact I don't have to stick my finger in there or wash my hands first before I stick my finger in there sets this apart. So there we go, guys. So those are the 10 newest palettes to my collection that I felt comfortable to rank. I hope you enjoyed this. This was really fun, and it was hard with those top 5 palettes to fit them in where I fit them in, but I am confident in the way I ranked them. I'm very grateful you guys are here. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!